Someone told you to stop contributing to your 401k. Maybe it was a TikTok, maybe it was a podcast, maybe it was a friend who's been down a financial rabbit hole lately and came out the other side very confident about things. And the argument sounded almost reasonable. Something about how you can't touch the money until you're 59 and a half. Something about how you're locking it away for decades while life is expensive right now. Something about how the fees are too high, or the tax situation is actually worse than you think, or how you should be putting the money somewhere you can actually use it. And here's the honest truth. Part of you wanted to believe it, because contributing to your 401k every month is one of those things that you do right and never get to feel. The money leaves your paycheck before it arrives in your hands. There's no reward moment. There's no notification that says, "Great job, you made a smart long-term decision today." It just disappears into an account you barely look at, growing slowly and invisibly for a future that feels abstractly far away. So when someone gives you a credible sounding reason to stop, a permission slip, it lands differently than it should. Here's what I need you to hear before we go anywhere else. Stopping your 401k contributions, especially if your employer matches, is one of the most expensive financial mistakes available to an ordinary person. Not over a lifetime, not in some theoretical sense. In the next 12 months, and I'm going to show you exactly why, with numbers that are going to be genuinely uncomfortable, but I'm also going to show you the real conversation that nobody has. The one about when the conventional 401k advice is actually incomplete and what to layer on top of it. Because there is a nuance here. It's just not the one the stop your 401k crowd is selling. My name is Max, and I want to help you learn how to make your money work more for you in your life. This channel is about financial literacy that actually changes what you do, not recycled takes, but the real mechanics underneath the decisions. If you want that, subscribe, because we go deep here every single week. Okay, the belief on the table. The conventional wisdom about 401ks goes like this. Contribute as much as you can, always. Maximize the employer match. Let it compound for decades. Retire comfortably. It's one of the most repeated pieces of financial advice in existence. And the challenge to that wisdom, the thing that gets clicks and gets shared, sounds like sophistication. Like someone finally telling you the thing the mainstream doesn't want you to know. The fees are eating your returns. The tax treatment is a trap. The money is locked away while you need it now. Financial independence requires liquid assets, not retirement accounts you can't touch. And I want to give this argument its strongest possible version before I dismantle it. Because some of it is real. 401k fees matter and are worth watching. Tax diversification between pre-tax and post-tax accounts is a legitimate strategic consideration. Building accessible savings alongside your retirement contributions is genuinely important. These are not nonsense points. But here's the overlooked truth that separates people who build wealth from people who stay stuck. The employer match transforms the 401k from a good investment into something that has no financial equivalent anywhere in your life. And walking away from it, for almost any reason, is a decision that costs you more than almost any other financial choice you could make. The fee concern, the liquidity concern, the tax concern, all of them are real considerations for how you optimize around the 401k. None of them are arguments for stopping it. And conflating those two things is where the stop your 401k content goes catastrophically wrong. Here's the analogy. Imagine you have a business partner who, every year, takes everything you invest in the business and doubles it immediately. Before the investment has had a single day to grow, you put in $5,000, they put in $5,000, and the $10,000 starts compounding from day one. The only catch is you can't pull your portion out for 30 years. Would you stop contributing to that partnership because you're worried the business might be slightly more expensive to operate than a solo venture? Would you stop because you'd rather have liquid cash? Of course not. The doubling at the moment of contribution is so overwhelmingly valuable that nearly every other consideration is secondary. That is exactly what an employer match is. If your employer matches 100% up to 3% of your salary, which is a common structure, you're receiving a 100% return on every dollar you contribute before a single day of market growth. There is no index fund, no real estate deal, no business investment, no savings account anywhere on earth that matches that. A 100% immediate return, and the people telling you to stop contributing are asking you to walk away from it. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because the math on what that match actually compounds to over time is not a number most people ever see. There's a psychological mechanism at play in why the 401k feels dispensable, and it's worth naming directly because it's not about intelligence. The 401k suffers from what behavioral economists call invisibility bias, the tendency to undervalue things we can't directly observe or interact with. Your 401k balance doesn't show up in your checking account. It doesn't participate in your monthly budgeting decisions. You can't spend it on anything today, which means your brain, which is constantly running a present value assessment of everything in your financial life, functionally discounts it to near zero in its day-to-day calculations. It exists, technically, but it doesn't feel real in the same way that your rent and your car payment and your grocery bill feel real. Meanwhile, the $200 that would come back into your paycheck if you stopped contributing, that is extraordinarily real. You'd feel it immediately. You'd have choices with it. It would change something tangible about this month. In the brain, under the influence of what psychologists call salience bias, overweighting information that's vivid and immediate versus abstract and distant, will tell you that the $200 in your hand is more valuable than $200 in an account you can't touch for 30 years. But here's the correction to that instinct. The $200 contribution isn't worth $200. With the employer match, it's worth $400 immediately. And at 8% annual return over 30 years, $400 compounded is approximately $4,025. So the month you decide to skip your contribution to free up $200, the real cost isn't $200 to you. It's $4,025 from your retirement account. You didn't save $200. You traded $200 of short-term liquidity for over $4,000 of future wealth. The brain doesn't feel that trade happening, but it's happening every single month you don't contribute. Now let me walk you through the full math because the numbers here are genuinely staggering in a way that's hard to convey without laying them out completely. Now, let's say you earn $70,000 a year and your employer matches 100% of contributions up to 3% of salary. 3% of $70,000 is $2,100 per year, or $175 a month. Your employer matches that with another $2,100. So $175 of your money becomes $350 in your account each month before any market growth occurs. At 8% annual return over 30 years, $350 a month becomes approximately $473,000. Your actual personal contribution over those 30 years, $63,000. The rest, $410,000, came from employer matching and compound growth. You contributed $63,000 and ended up with $473,000. That's a 651% return on your actual out-of-pocket investment. Now, what if you had stopped contributing and put the $175 a month into a regular brokerage account instead to preserve liquidity? At 8% over 30 years, $175 a month becomes about $236,000. You gave up $473,000 and got $236,000 in exchange. The liquidity you gained cost you $237,000 in final account value. That's not a small trade-off. That's more than twice your entire salary sitting on the table. Walked away from in the name of flexibility you probably didn't even end up needing. And here's the tax dimension that the 401k is a tax trap crowd always uses, but almost never completes the math on. Yes, your traditional 401k contributions will be taxed as ordinary income when you withdraw them in retirement. But they were contributed pre-tax, meaning you got a tax deduction in the year you contributed. For someone in a 22% tax bracket, every $1,000 contributed to a traditional 401k cost them roughly $780 after tax. They get the full $1,000 working in the market, plus the employer match on the full amount, with only $780 of real out-of-pocket cost. The deferred tax is real, but it is paid on money that has been compounding for 30 years on the government's pre-tax dollar. That is almost always a net positive, especially when most people's retirement income is lower and therefore taxed at a lower rate than their peak earning years. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what about Roth? What about accessibility? What about the argument that I should build liquid assets first? And here's where I want to give you the real nuance. The actual sophisticated conversation that the stop your 401k content misses entirely. The answer is not stop your 401k. The answer is a specific sequence. Contribute to your 401k at least up to the full employer match. Always, non-negotiably, as the first priority. After the match is captured, build your liquid emergency fund to a real threshold. $15,000 to $25,000 in accessible savings. After that's established, decide whether to maximize your 401k beyond the match, open a Roth IRA, invest in a taxable brokerage account, or some combination, based on your tax situation, your timeline, and your goals. That's the sophisticated conversation, not stop. Sequence. The match is always first. Everything else is the optimization layer on top of it. Now let me talk about what this looks like from an identity and behavior standpoint, because the people who stay consistent with their 401k through the years when it's hard to feel are building something that goes beyond the account balance. Maintaining your 401k contribution when money is tight, when life is expensive, when someone on the internet just told you a convincing reason to stop. That requires a specific kind of financial character. It requires the ability to hold a position through pressure, to make a long-term decision and not let short-term circumstances renegotiate it, to understand that the value of an automatic behavior is precisely that it isn't subject to monthly renegotiation based on how you feel or what you read this week. The people who build real retirement security aren't the ones with the highest incomes. They are consistently the ones who didn't stop, who didn't pause for just a few months when something else came up, who didn't lower the contribution temporarily when the budget got tight. Every month the transfer ran. They were casting a vote for a specific financial identity, the kind of person who protects their future self even when it's inconvenient. An identity, as I've talked about throughout the series, is stickier and more powerful than any individual financial decision. Here's how having a robust 401k at different points in your career changes what's available to you. 4 scenarios where the same moment plays out completely differently. You're 52 and your company gets acquired. New management is bringing in their own team. You see the writing on the wall. Your role may survive, may not. Person A, minimal 401k contributions over the years, thin retirement base, financially dependent on continued income, is terrified. They perform defensively. They avoid having honest conversations with management about their position. They don't raise issues that need to be raised. Person B, 20 years of consistent 401k contributions, $400,000 plus in retirement savings, a financial foundation that doesn't collapse if this job ends, navigates the same uncertainty with clarity. They know what they need. They know what they're willing to accept. They have real options. Same acquisition, completely different posture, completely different outcomes. You're offered a buyout package at 58. Early retirement with a lump sum. Person A can't seriously consider it. The 401k balance isn't there. The retirement math doesn't work. And taking the buyout would mean financial hardship. They stay in a role that's changed in ways they don't love because they have to. Person B looks at the same offer and runs real numbers on a real foundation. Maybe they take it, maybe they don't. But it's a genuine choice, not a foregone impossibility. The 20 years of contributions bought them optionality at exactly the moment optionality matters most. You hit 59 and a half, the age at which 401k withdrawals no longer carry early withdrawal penalties. Person A has $140,000. Person B has $680,000. They started at the same salary, the same age, contributed through the same economic cycles. The difference was consistent contribution versus repeated interruptions. for good reasons. $540,000 of difference, not from income, from behavior. You want to start a small business at 55. Person A, minimal retirement savings, cannot use retirement assets as a safety net because there aren't enough of them to bridge any uncertainty. Every dollar of business risk is existential. Person B has a substantial 401k that, while not liquid for daily use, provides a structural backstop for significant risk-taking. The knowledge that they're not gambling everything changes how they make decisions. They take the calculated risk, they launch. The business outcome is separate from the financial security, but having the security made the attempt possible. Now, the career and negotiation dimension of all this, because it connects to something I return to across this whole series. Financial security doesn't just change what you can do, it changes how you show up. And how you show up changes what people offer you. The person who has been building a robust 401k for 15 years has a relationship with their employer that is quietly but meaningfully different from someone who's been living paycheck to paycheck. It's not about what anyone knows, it's about what you know internally, about your own optionality. That knowledge changes your posture in every professional interaction. You ask for what you're worth because you can survive a no. You set limits on what you'll accept because you have the foundation to enforce them. You make career moves on your own timeline because you're not hostage to income continuity. Walkaway power is a function of financial security. Financial security, for most working people, is substantially built through a 401k. The two are connected, and every month you contribute, even when you don't feel it, even when it disappears invisibly from your paycheck. You are building the foundation of a professional posture that compounds just like the account itself does. Here's the warning I want to leave you with, because there's a specific mistake people make when they finally internalize the importance of the 401k that I want to name directly. The mistake is treating the 401k as the only thing that matters and neglecting the accessible savings foundation that makes consistent contribution possible. This is the flip side of the stop your 401k error. If you contribute aggressively to your 401k but have no liquid emergency fund, every unexpected expense becomes a potential 401k disruption. You get a $2,200 car repair in month 4. You have no accessible savings, and suddenly the temporary pause that the advice content was warning about becomes a forced reality. The two have to be built together in the right sequence. Match captured first, liquid foundation established second, optimization above the match third. The goal isn't maximum 401k at the expense of everything else. The goal is a financial structure where the 401k runs uninterrupted because the rest of the foundation can absorb what life throws at it. Well, that's the complete picture, not stop, not pause. Structure it correctly and never stop. Here's where I close. The people telling you to stop contributing to your 401k are not necessarily dishonest. Some of them are identifying real limitations, the liquidity constraint, the fee landscape, the tax complexity, that are worth understanding, but they are solving a real problem with the wrong tool. The answer to 401k limitations is not to walk away from a 100% immediate return and 30 years of tax-advantaged compounding. It's to understand the sequence. Match first, liquid foundation second, optimization third, and execute it with the same consistency that makes any long-term financial strategy work. The employer match is the closest thing to free money that exists in personal finance, not a metaphor. Mathematically, structurally, demonstrably free money that doubles your contribution before the market adds a single day of growth. The people who capture it consistently for 20 to 30 years end up with $400,000 accounts on $63,000 of personal contributions. The people who stop for liquidity reasons, for fee reasons, for I'll restart it later reasons, end up with the $236,000 that feels logical until you see the comparison that you already know what the right move is. You knew it before you watched this video. Don't let a clever argument talk you out of it.